Thank you so much for being here first in the room or for watching us live. This is amazing. We wanted to just to talk about remote design sprint. We think that it's really something that's hot right now. A lot of people are very interested about it, and we think it's important to talk about it. Turns out that Paul and we have now quite some experience about running remote design sprint. Thank you, COVID. And we'd like to share with you some tips and tricks. And I guess Benjamin, who is here, James and Andrea, who are also part of this conversation, have a lot of tips and tricks because all of us, we have been part of remote design sprints. So yeah, thank you so much. Maybe Paul, could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course I can. Paul from the Linden. I'm Dutch from origin. I'm living in Switzerland already for quite some time, almost 20 years. Been in digital innovation since actually 1986 already. And when Steph asked me, okay, let's do this conversation on Friday afternoon, I was thinking, okay, video conferencing and remote working. When did I first encounter that? And actually it was already in 1992 when I had my first video conferencing and sort of remote sessions with the Americas when working at Philips Lighting, when we did an internet project, or actually our first internet project demonstrating the power of lighting solutions in city safety. And at that time, the whole remote and work was really only available in the boardroom. So there was a big camera, there was television sets, and then things like that. But actually, technology sort of improved, but the way we had to deal with the problems were exactly the same. We had the same etiquettes that we will also discuss today. So nothing changed in that sense so much over, what is it, 30 years almost now. But it was interesting to see. So that's a little bit short. So a lot of experience in remote working, remote workshops, not only for Design Sprint. So that's short.
And lately, Paul, we have been working together, part of the masterclasses, right? Because Paul is a Design Sprint fellow. And when we run masterclasses and when there are a lot of people, we have co-facilitators. And of course, we call the fellows to help us. And Paul, you were facilitating one group. Yep. So a lot of fresh experience of running Design Sprint.
Exactly.
What's your tip number one?
Yeah. In order to basically get on the same level, it would be nice, for example, that I know her favorite drink or her favorite movie, because then if she, for example, says, I'm a hard rock fan and I know all the 32 albums of Kiss, then that might relate to me, and she is immediately a human and not the director of art in the portrait museum, but she is a human. And for me, doing a good collaboration is try to humanize people that you're going to work intensively with in the first 5 days. So that would be my first tip to get everybody at ease.
So the way we did it in our masterclasses, maybe there are better ways, but to start, we've created a board on Miro, and we asked people, just put a photo of yourself, right, with the stickies, basically what are your favorite drinks, favorite movie, on the same format. One thing we have been doing too is we have a word map, and we ask people to pinpoint exactly where they are. And already it creates a bit of interaction. It's an easy task to do. So, you can just open Miro and do something very easy at first before going crazy, showing the canvas. That's a good start of a sprint.
Yeah. And it brings basically going immediately to the tip number two. Tip number two is the moment you are asking people, hey, can you, for example, put your favorite movie or your favorite drink on the board? Automatically, they need to put a post-it. So they familiarize immediately with the tool without really thinking, oh, what do I need to do? How do I put a post-it? Just double click or do Control D on an existing one and just type it. And then sort of playfully, you already know your way a little bit around the board without being stressed, and then you say, hey, without really being stressed, I can already start using. So you're also familiarizing a little bit with the tool without feeling stressed or having fantastic games that are already designed for this. So it makes you at ease at the same time. So
maybe I can share my screen just so you can see what a remote design sprint looks like, and basically the templates that we are using. I think it could be interesting. So basically what you see here is the template we use for a remote design sprint. So it's a template that we have created that became the official remote design sprint template, because Jake Knapp and John Zaretsky and Jackie Colburn were part of it and of writing the copy and everything. But that's a template that you can find for free. You can just look on Mural or Miro. It exists for both platforms. You write official remote design sprint template, and you can get it for your own use. So far, there are 2 versions that exist, one in English, one in French. If you guys who are watching us, you speak another language, Spanish, Japanese, Chinese, whatever, you can tell us, and it would be so amazing if you guys would be interested to translate that template, make it available for free, for your own language. That would be amazing. And the way it works is like, basically it's guided activities for the whole week. And you can just zoom in, and you see here, that's the activities for the day 1. So day 1 of the sprint, long-term goal, sprint questions, and you see you can really zoom to a crazy level, and you see exactly all the post-its and how it works. And we guide the group. Throughout the days, going exercise per exercise. So at first, it's very scary. You enter that new environment, you're like, oh my God, I have a whole week of work just in front of my eyes. So people are a bit scared. So what I would recommend is really you create another canvas, empty or almost empty, with a very simple activity. It could be an icebreaker, could be a word map, whatever. So people, they can familiarize with the tool before going to the real template. And yeah, I think that's about it. So we'll stop screen sharing. Yeah.
So actually, this was, I don't know whether you saw that, but this is actually something that happens all the time during remote. Be careful what you show. You saw my daughter running in the back, maybe. She needed to do something. So be aware that if you are a remote, that everything that is happening behind you, or everything that is now behind me visible, will be visible in principle for all time, because you don't know whether somebody takes a screenshot. Of course, this was staged so that she ran in and ran out, just to tell. It is important how your background might look and what is happening in the background of your screen.
Also, virtual backgrounds, yeah, it's I don't know, I know what you think, but for me, it's a bit like I have something to hide. And honestly, I don't care if your room is not tidy, if it's not perfect. I really don't care. But I don't like, that kind of, I want to hide something in the background. It's okay for maybe a 10 minutes meeting or something. But when you are sprinting with someone for 4 or 5 days or whatever, it's a bit, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but I think what Benjamin was also mentioning is that, for example, with my beautiful 50-year-old blonde hair, it is going to disturb, because especially this color is mixing extremely bad with the background, and then you get like this stupid faces, and then people are distracted by what they see. And now, yeah, I have blue white background, and maybe people do not like having the clichés behind me, but it's not disturbing. At least it's not feeling strange space in the room.
But perhaps it could. You were saying about icebreakers.
Memory that you can tell a story to humanize, but then after that, basically, you take it off.
Yeah.
I think the camera on is a very important topic. I don't know why, but a lot of people tend to turn off the camera. And I don't know. For me, when you do heavy activities online, what we are doing right now because of COVID, there is kind of an etiquette. I think and it's very important that it means I care about what we are doing. You see, if people they turn on the camera, they are with us in the room. It's not we are controlling them, but it just means I'm with you guys. I care, and it's so important. You know, when you run offline workshops or in person, it's pretty easy. You can see if someone's grabbing the phone, doing something else. You see, and the person will feel bad. While when you turn off the camera, it's like, you know, like with Julien, we were teaching a few weeks ago, and it was crazy. Out of a class of 20 students, there were 17 students with camera off.
Yeah, the students love to put their camera off, don't they?
Why?
I don't know. So they can do other things.
Yeah, probably. But this is really disturbing because it feels like you are speaking to the walls, you see? And I don't know if it's even an English expression, but it works. It does work in French. But yeah, it's so important to humanize, to put a face on the people and just to see how they react.
But if you press the space button, you unmute yourself without having the mouse button. So you use the space bar, you just say a nod or yeah, I agree or something like that, so that there is an interaction and it's not monologues all the time from the same point. Mm-hmm. But maybe, James, what you just said about students love to hide themselves, actually that is what we brought as tip number 4. It's related to that. Actually, we need to have the same discipline as we have in a real design sprint. So if you are in a room with others and you're working on your design sprint and you're doing tasks, you hate people taking their mobile phone and doing other stuff or calling their moms or uploading the Instagram. And actually, you need to ask, and I think you can even demand people have the same discipline. So while we are working, make sure that you have the same discipline and spend time really on the topic of design sprint, and all the rest can wait for the little breaks or the big lunch pauses, because it's easy now to have my second or third screen and do my Fortnite at the same time and things like that, and of course it will not help the success of the design sprint.
It's actually funny because, you know, students or people sometimes they think that we don't see what's going on. You see, like they pretend they are following, but for real you can see, because they have glasses or even their face, you can see that they're on Facebook, or, you know, because you recognize the blue of Facebook, or you see the video game in the glasses and you're like, God, I see what you are doing.
That's why I have contact lenses now. Huh?
Yeah. So yeah, what we do when we run a remote design sprint, there is all that part of onboarding, which is very important. In a regular design sprint, you can just bring people in the room, you explain a couple of rules, and then it works. You can start sprinting. For remote design sprint, we usually have an onboarding maybe a couple of days before the sprint, if we can, and we ask people, can you just join the Zoom meeting, and it's going to be 15-20 minutes long, and we test Zoom, we test Miro, we test the webcams, we test the sound. The sound is so important too. Sometimes people think they need a crazy microphone or crazy gear to sound good online. You don't need, like Paul, your sound is amazing and you just have headphones, right?
Yeah, the Apple standard iPhone 6 earplug. Yeah,
it doesn't need to be Apple. But what people don't know, that any any headphones, usually they have a little part in here and there's a microphone hidden here, so you do sound really good with very simple headphones, and that's really important. And also what we test before is, like, you can see the internet connection of the people. Like if you are maybe gathering 8 people, after a test of 15-20 minutes, you will see exactly who is going to have some issues of connection during the sprint. Also something we do, it's something we do on some of our regular in-person design sprint, but so important to do in a remote setting, is to have a Slack open or WhatsApp group. during the whole time during the sprint.
Good tip.
Yeah,
Hey, good tip.
it's so simple.
WhatsApp group with running a sprint.
Anytime. And this saved our life so many times. And and this is amazing. And also, even during the breaks, you can have some funny times. Like, for example, what we're doing is like sharing photos of our meals. So during the break, and just snap a photo of your meal, you share, create interaction. So it's great as a safety tool, but at the same time as an interaction tool. Super simple too. WhatsApp, everyone has it. It's very easy to ask people to come on WhatsApp. It feels maybe a bit personal, so I wouldn't do it with all the teams. But most of the teams, it works, no problem. Slack is a bit more technical. But if you see already that you will need to have a lot of document sharing and all of this, maybe it's interesting to consider Slack.
Yeah, but Slack also works on mobile. So indeed, if your internet connection is, but you still have your 3G or 4G or 5G, you can still use Slack to give a small communication to the facilitator or co-facilitator. So that's just indeed a nice way to get help or share information.
Yeah. Diogo is joining. Hi, Diogo. Hi, good to see you.
Hello, Diogo.
This is great. So thank you so much for joining. So we are talking about our tips and tricks for remote design sprint. About troubleshooting and all the technical issues that you're going to have during the design sprint, because you will have some, which is normal. It's like, even in a regular design sprint, there is also that part called, the lightning demos, when you have to just connect the computer to show a couple of slides or a couple of websites. That specific part doesn't work at all because it's a bit technical. Well, in remote design sprint, it's a full week with Zoom, with Miro, with mirrors. So, problems occur. What's the best way to tackle problems, Paul?
Well, what I would do is basically, if for example, let's take the master class that we had a couple of weeks ago. We had 3 groups, and each group had their facilitator or co-facilitator, and we had one upper facilitator. So in any case, a problem was there. What we did was assign the facilitator or the co-facilitator to the person that had the issue and take them out of the real session. Because for example, if Diogo has connection problems, his audio is not working, and we as a group are trying to solve that for 15-20 minutes, and you are on a tight schedule, especially in the time boxed design sprint. It's valuable time that the group is losing. So it is then much better to have the co-facilitator or the facilitator take them apart. And if there is still internet connection, go in a breakout room and try to understand what the real problem is, and take that problem completely away from the team that can continue working. And then when everything is back on, you bring the person back in his team or into the overall room. You need maybe 1 minute to bring him up to speed and do it. And try not to solve somebody who says, "Oh, but my audio is not working. My video, it's not working," and constantly that. Then you also get a natural dislike of doing stuff remote. And I was having a remote workshop, not a design sprint, but a remote workshop 2 weeks ago in the Netherlands, where actually and people already had their sound on. There was one lady says, I really hate all this remote. It's never working, and she was already having like this natural dislike of doing stuff remote. And then if there is somebody in the team that is also having all kinds of technical issues, that will strengthen her. Yeah, I don't like remote because it's not working, and I think that can be avoided by immediately taking the problem out, solve it, and bringing the people back into the room. So that is something that the tip is never do it alone. So always make sure that you have a co-facilitator or somebody who understands the whole setup of a remote environment, and take the problem immediately out, and don't feel sorry like, oh, I'm taking out the executive, or I'm taking out the most favorite person in the room. No, because it's simply disturbing for the rest, and creates
I don't think you need to be a technical wizard. Most of the problems, they are pretty simple. Most of the time, 50% of the time, you just need to say, which browser are you using? Okay, Microsoft Edge. Don't use Microsoft Edge. It's so I guess you can already fix half of the problems with just using Chrome or a good browser. Then there is internet connection. And then it's like I've seen more problems on PCs than Mac, but I think it's more because it's like old computers and like really business computers. These people who work with small screens like this big, because it's computers made for writing emails, and it's not made at all to actually work online, just writing emails or do Excel. So that's an issue. And I think that's part of the list. Paul, maybe you want to talk about the second screen?
Yes, definitely. What I noticed is that, and of course everybody understands here in this setup, but we are not only talking to you at this moment, of course. But having a second screen is for two reasons extremely important, because at this moment I am really talking to you. I see everybody, but let's assume that I also have to work on the Miro. And I'm trying at the same time stay in contact with you and see your expressions. It's impossible, because on a small, especially business PC, I have everybody on the right side. I have my shared screen on the left side. I need to look something up on the other one, and it's basically, you're getting lost, and actually you're switching from one application to the other constantly. So having a second screen where you have one dedicated to the Zoom, to the visual and audio contact, and one where you work on is simply ideal to have everything you need on the right location, and you stay in touch, you stay motivated and connected, and on the other side you can work and use the full space. And I would use as I have set up it, as my setup is now, I have on my small screen the Zoom, so that I see everybody still okay, and I'm facing my Zoom, and on the left side there I have my workspace where I can do whatever I need. Because if I'm working in the Design Sprint together alone, or alone together, I am anyway working there, so not distracted. But if I need to find contact, I can just put my head straight, and then I see what's happening on the rest. So I would advise everybody, if possible, of course, to either attach their TV set or an extra screen.
This is so key. I think you said it. A screen, it doesn't need to be expensive. You just take an old screen, like from somewhere that's stored in your garage, or you can find screens for like $40 or $50, on Facebook Marketplace or whatever. So it doesn't need to be fancy. Just a second screen. And what you said is so important. You put the Zoom, the grid of people. So when I facilitate, I always put Zoom on grid mode. If you don't know how it works, you just go on top right, and you can change the display of Zoom, so grid mode, so you can see everyone. And I put that Zoom just under my webcam. So the screen that has the webcam. It is so key, because you are actually speaking to people, so you look at them while you speak, because there is nothing worse than the person who is like that the whole time during the whole workshop. And because they have two screens, but the webcam is on the wrong screen.
The nice thing about that as well is a little something I saw, that talking into a camera or into a lens is a little bit awkward. But I have this little thingy on top of my screen, and basically I'm talking to the little owl. And then I have at least a face where I talk to.
That's cool.
And it's not into the lens, because the lens doesn't do anything. But just having this on top, this little thingy on top, I'm talking to something at least. So I'm see two eyes where I look in, because if I'm now looking in, for me, James's eyes, I'm looking down, or now Jogo, I'm looking down. But if I look in the owl, I look in the camera. And that's a simple thing, but it's still useful for having this nice connection.
Yeah, and if you have only one screen, maybe I can share you a short video with you of the workshop we've run a couple of weeks ago. Just look what we did. Basically, you have the working space, which was Miro, that was taking most of the screen, 2/3, and 1/3 was Zoom, because you can easily reduce the size of the column. You make a column with Zoom in grid mode, and then you have everyone nicely on the screen. Maybe I can share that video with you. It's going to be more clear. Yeah, so that's the video. So I have Zoom on the right, the video on the left, the mirror on the left. Yeah. Yeah, so that was actually an interesting sprint, because it was really remote design sprint to its full potential. It wasn't just one team, it was 3 teams at the same time, which sounds like a nightmare. It's actually possible. I would say it's as complex as running 3 design sprints at the same time in one room, but you can actually facilitate that. The only thing you need to do is to have one main facilitator that's kind of leading the exercises, and then each group can work on their own design sprint. And there is an amazing feature on Zoom. If you don't have it yet, you should just dig in the options and activate it. It's called Zoom Breakout Rooms. And this saved my life the day when I discovered this functionality. So if you have it, it's a small icon with like four squares. It's appearing down. So it's free. Zoom Breakout. No, sorry, it's not.
Yeah, it's free. It's also
free?
It's also in the free version. Yeah.
Okay, so it's in the free version too. Zoom Breakout Rooms. You can activate it in the options of Zoom. And it's amazing. What it does is that it allows you to open some sub-rooms, some rooms for like 2 or 3 people to work, and you can send people to these rooms. So this is amazing. It's like you can have a master sprint, like with everyone, like if you have 15 people, you have 15 people at once, then you open the room and you send groups of 5 in 3 different rooms. And you recall everyone. I call that the vortex, because it does a bit like a vortex. So I recall them in the main room, and then we continue the facilitation, which is amazing. At first, it looks a bit scary, because you're like, wait, I opened my rooms, I need to assign people to the rooms. So the first time you do it takes a bit of time, but you just need to do it once to assign people to each room, and then automatically you open and close the rooms like that. This is amazing. And honestly, there is no limits in how many sprints at the same time you can run, because you could have, I don't know, you could have 10 sprints at the same time. You have a main facilitator, several teams. So you need to be very clear in your facilitation. Like, that's what we're going to do in the next 10 minutes. You give the exercise, send people to the rooms, they do the exercise, and you call them back. Amazing. So maybe I'm going to write in the chat, breakout rooms from Zoom. And it's free. You just need to activate it in the settings. It's not activated by default. I don't know why, because it's the best functionality of Zoom.
That's why the Easter eggs are always hard to find.
yeah, that's true. Paul, maybe you have a bit of advice about, because I was in the easy position because I was facilitating and giving the instructions and then opening the rooms. And then, Paul, you were in the room with your group. Maybe if you can share a bit about how it was for you.
Yeah, for me, that was, of course, with a master class. It was a little bit different, because it was a let's say accelerated sprint that we were doing, where everybody more or less understood the principles of the sprint already, so it was not new. But what I noticed is that the moment that we were in the group together, and Steph was explaining the next steps, that the, call it, energy level was on the right level. But when going into the smaller rooms where we had only 4 faces and then really being in each other's face, the energy level went up immediately, because everybody were so much closer to the other. And you had basically, if you have 5 minutes for an open discussion and you are with 9, then mathematically you have 26.7 seconds each. But if you are with only 4 in a 5 minutes session, you have a little bit more time. So you give more options to people that speak less than me, for example, because I like to talk and therefore I take a lot of room. But there are people that have much more sensible things to say than me, but simply because I'm talking, they will not talk. And if you have a smaller team as a facilitator, you see much more like, hey, somebody wants to say something and somebody is taking the airspace. Okay, good. I'm just making your name now, Benjamin. Fine. What do you think, Jogo, about it? So you can easily read the facial expressions and then give the right time to the right people. So for me, the smaller breakout rooms is extremely important for smaller, more intense, and more effective of doing that. And I saw that energy really moving, and people sort of as a team came out back from the vortex in the main room, and then it was okay. We're in another area, and I'm not saying that one is better than the other, but I saw with the smaller teams the energy immediately going up in that perspective. So I like that a lot.
Absolutely. There is a very...
Sorry, and I know I talk a lot. But
Go on.
There was recently a good research on remote workshops. And from a lot of research, and I will try to find the article, but shows that a group of 5 in remote is the most optimal number for doing remote work. And actually, we, from an experience without having that report at that time, saw already that this 4 people and the facilitator was actually really great, really giving the right energy and commitment to each other, actually, to do it.
One moment of the sprint that is critical, and I would like to hear you guys about how you are tackling that moment, but it's not the map. The map is horrible, but it's more the storyboarding. When you storyboard what you're gonna prototype. So it's that transition between we have a very good idea, or we have good ideas that we want to push forward, but now we need to make a prototype. And taking the ideas that we want to push forward, we put them on the wall. We're like, okay, we have these 2 or 3 powerful ideas. We're gonna split the group in 2 or 3 teams, and now we concentrate only on one chunk of the prototype. We split the group, we let people work, and then we meet in like, say, 1 hour, 1 hour and a half. And then people will be way more active, way more willing to work only on one part of the prototype. It's going to be way easier. You can absolutely, and you should do the same with a virtual design sprint, a remote sprint, using the Zoom breakout room. So as soon as you start prototyping, you should kind of assign the work, split the work in smaller groups, and then you create breakout rooms. You send people for like 1 hour or so, and then they come back with something. And you will have... Amazing. Paul, are we missing some elements from the list?
Maybe what I think is extremely important when doing remote, and I think we already feeling that. We are now almost 1 hour in this call, that everybody, we have a fantastic conversation, so the energy levels are still high, but make sure that there are really enough moments that you just have 5 minutes indeed for having a farmer or a snack, that you just take 5 minutes to stretch your legs, because sitting at a desk is different than walking around in a room and putting the sticky notes. So make sure that you have enough fives to give people a rest. And indeed, as you said, I have already used my bottle of water 3 or 4 times during this session. Because it is important that you stay hydrated and that you stay full of energy. So make sure that you have some water and some snacks next to you, not getting the Corona kilos with you, but just make sure that you have the right level of energy. And also what I think is important is you cannot do a group lunch, but make sure that people have really the time to really go away. So at least 45 minutes for a proper lunch, so that you can go to your Instagram or your Facebook or your whatever you need to do else, and then have a decent meal that you can really get back to energy levels. On that, the days of the 5 days normal, you start maybe at 8:30, you end at 1700, maybe have a little drink after that. With the remote, I would advise not to make the sessions too long. So start at 9ish, end at 12:30, have this 45 minutes, and be not later than 4 o'clock in the afternoon ready, so that it is all not too long, and that you keep your energy levels, because 5 days working on the screen, sitting on a maybe uncomfortable chair, is simply heavy. The concentration levels might fall away. So I would say take the breaks, good lunch, and not too long days.
There is a lot of debate on should the sprint be 4 days, 5 days, blah blah blah, and we have heard that a lot during the last years. Remote brings a new reality, a new setting, and personally, I think 5 days is interesting in remote because you can have shorter days. So it's way less tiring, it's less stressful, and it's probably a format that works really well for sprints. They had to take care of the kids and to cook for the family. So it's also something we had in mind, and we were giving 1 hour and a half of pause. So like starting at 9 a.m. in the morning, then finishing at 12 until 1:30, and then finishing at 4:30. This worked really well overall. We have 5 minutes left. I would like to hear your advices, guys.
I have a question.
Oh, question.
We have questions.
Interesting. Okay. 4 months ago or 5 months ago, I would have said go with Whereby, because it's just you send one link, people click on the link, and it works. Now, I think that I would go with Zoom, because worldwide, because of COVID, thanks to COVID, people have really become really good at working remotely. And Zoom, of course, you need to install Zoom. The first time is a bit annoying. You need to install to use it, but then you just click on the link and it works. And I guess I have no stats. I have no idea, but I guess now a huge portion of the population has Zoom installed on the computer, because at some point someone asked them to join a Zoom meeting. People watching, but we had 15 people actively working in the sprint from more than 10 countries. The countries we had issues with was Burkina Faso, Nigeria, and Lebanon, for really technical issues like power outage. In Lebanon, it's normal that you have 1 hour per day, you have no power, and that's normal. That's how it goes. But turns out that these people, they are used to it. So I was freaking out. I was it's not gonna work. They're gonna panic. They're gonna leave. No, they were super patient. They were like, okay, guys, I need to leave you because it's the 1 hour power outage in Beirut, and that's the way it goes. I'm gonna join in 1 hour, and they knew. So Zoom definitely not a problem. I know Miro had a better speed before, and Mural, they just updated the speed right now, so it should be way better. But I would watch out putting too many images on the boards if you can, and especially when you do solution sketch and you have to upload the images on the board, take some time to optimize them. You open Photoshop, you optimize your images before adding them. This saves a lot of bandwidth, because if people, they take a photo on their iPhone, because they have good camera in Africa, so they have good iPhones, they take a photo, upload the image, every single image is 10 to 15 megabytes, which is crazy load. So that's a lot. So I think as facilitators, you should collect the sketches, you optimize them in Photoshop or whatever, and you upload them. That's my top advice.
But I think the question was more, Andrea, correct me if I'm wrong, is in what to use for testing, whether
testing a
specific
testing a web app with.
Okay, so you can try InVision maybe, but you have to load it. And I would go, honestly, the best way for me is like you have a Zoom conversation with everyone who is already on the Zoom. You invite the person on Zoom, and then you share your screen, meaning that you have the prototype ready on your screen, you share the screen, and you ask the person to kind of react to what you are showing. So it's more guided, it's less an accessibility test, like they don't have to click themselves, but you kind of, show them the prototype.
Yeah, you're the mouse, actually.
Yes.
So you ask them, what would you do?
Yeah.
And actually, we did that 3 weeks ago with the master, with the master class as well. We had not so much time, and we used Zoom to let people say, okay, which button would you now press? And then they said, the top right one where it says press here. But at least we could guide them without creating a complete automated system behind it that requires technical. So Zoom works perfectly well for that, because you can share everything quite high def.
Great.
Is there a way of having?
There is a great product called Look Back. I will add the link.
Look Back.
Look Back. It's really amazing, because you can actually link it with InVision. Egle is telling me that we are late already, but you can. Sorry. Yeah. So I'm gonna share publicly the link. Yeah, so it's called Look Back. The software is really good. It's kind of pricey. It costs $69 per month, but you have a 1 month trial, I think. And it's amazing because you can actually install Look Back with a prototype, and you can actually do screen recording and user testing on the phone. I wouldn't recommend it for design sprints per se if the person, if you don't really have time, or if it's really high level, like if it's a business idea, I wouldn't go there. But if it's already a full-fledged product and you are more in the nitty-gritty detail and you need to see the accessibility and the interaction, this is really amazing. And you can live stream, you can capture what's going on the window. It's a great product. Actually, we were using it for all our user tests prior to COVID. We're always doing them with Look Back. Now that people have Zoom, that it's so much easier for everyone to have Zoom, we do everything with Zoom.
Thank you very much. You've answered.
That's so helpful. Thank you.
That's a very.
I think that's it for today. I would like to thank all of you for all your questions and everything, and interaction, and all the bits of knowledge that you brought. And let's do that again, right?
Yeah.
That was amazing. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Paul.
People watching, if you are interested, we have a masterclass. It's next week. It starts on Monday. We still have some spots left. So it's a real design sprint over 4 days. So if you are interested, just write me on LinkedIn, whatever, and then I can onboard you if you're interested.
Benjamin, we will answer your question about the template.
Yes, the template, you can just write official design sprint template, and you add Mural or Miro, and you will find the pages about this template. No, and we even have a page on our website. Should always start with our own website. So it's called, I will send you the link, by the way. So you write remote design sprint templates on designsprint.com, and you find the link. And from this page, you can download the two versions. So you have Miro and Miro, and yeah, and Egle send it to me. Thank you so much. Yeah, there you go. So you can find both of the templates in here. And again, if, for example, Diogo wants to translate it in Portuguese, or if someone wants to translate it in other languages, that would be amazing. And
in Dutch.
Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Cheers.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.